Antelope, caught in the headlights. I was frozen. Like a bird without wings, I was grounded. And like a fish out of water, I was gasping for breath. These are just some of the feelings I experienced during the lockdown. Did any of you feel the same? The National Health Service in the UK reported that these feelings are entirely common across the whole spectrum of society. Coincidentally, even criminals in prison felt them. But imagine this. What if lockdown extended forever? For forever is a long time. I'm going to speak to you this evening about zoos. I'm going to describe the difference between keeping an animal in an artificial environment and a natural environment, demonstrate the impact this has on that animal, and decipher why the justifications for the existence of zoos no longer hold any water whatsoever. We've all now seen what it's like to live in an artificial environment. Isn't it a little suffocating? And no matter how hard we try, we just can't replicate our natural environment. And a prime example of this is our Toastmasters meetings. Now in the animal kingdom, this distinction is even more drastic. An article by Africa Geographic reported on a study carried out by the World Wildlife Fund in July. The study tracked the movement of 2 cheetahs over a period of 3 months across southern Africa. The results astounded the researchers. They saw that cheetahs have an incredible natural range spanning thousands and thousands of square kilometers. As shown by this chart, these cheetahs started moving around in Namibia, then made their way down into Botswana before making their way into South Africa. That's 3 whole countries. Now compare that expansive range with this, a 25 by 15 meter enclosure in which 2 cheetahs at our animal orphanage currently spend their entire lifetime. For forever is a long time. So what's been this impact? We've seen, felt it, we even read about it. Increased anxiety, stress, depression. The list just goes on and on and on. A study by the University of Bath showed that out of a sample of 800 people, 25% experienced increased levels of these symptoms. A further 15% were affected so badly that they actually needed medical intervention. So if you've been to a zoo recently, you may have noticed an animal walking up and down along the fence line. This is known as pacing, and it joins a whole host of behaviors which are just completely unnatural to an animal. The Society for the Ethical Protection of Animals has identified and observed this in virtually all animals in zoos. In fact, in 2010, animal welfare officers in the UK reported that elephants should actually be phased out of zoos. Why? Because they were smashing their heads against concrete walls in sheer frustration at their isolation and confinement. Now, as humans, we're quite lucky because while we are stuck in a bit of an artificial environment, we are able to physically escape, and we have access to technology, which lets us work, play, and socialize pretty much the way we used to, the new normal, some call it. But for an animal in a zoo, there is no physical escape, there is no interaction, and it's doomed to a lifetime of stress and anxiety. For forever is a long time indeed. So this begs the question, why do zoos exist? Well, there are 2 main reasons. One, public awareness and education. Now, I don't agree with that, and it's been proved by the Berlin Zoo when they carried out an independent survey on their visitors that only 20% of people actually visit a zoo for any educational purpose. 80% are just there for recreational purposes. We actually learn more from documentaries, wildlife documentaries. The second reason is conservation and reintroduction into the wild. Now, the Society for the Protection of Captive Animals, again, has disproved this. They've shown that in the last 5 years, out of all the animals in zoos in the European Union, only around 20% are actually connected to any sort of endangered list. And even worse, out of the whole pool of wild animals all over the world which are in zoos, only 0.5% are actually ever reintroduced into the wild. So this begs the question, why do zoos exist? And sadly, very much like how we got used to in Kenya, the answer is simple. Just follow the money. Zoos are massive businesses and they make great profits and so are really lucrative. A prime example of this is Chester Zoo in the UK, which is one of the most popular zoos. In 2015, they made a profit of 30 million pounds. That's 4 billion shillings. And that's in 2015. And coincidentally, records have not been available since, but we understand the numbers have only been increasing. Mahatma Gandhi, the greatest advocate for nonviolence we have seen in our lifetimes, said that a nation may be judged by the way in which it treats its animals. We've seen firsthand what it's like to live in an artificial environment. We've seen the impact this has on our mental health. And through my talk, we've seen that this is not just restricted to us, but applies widely to animals and zoos. It's time we put the wild back in wildlife, for forever is a long time. Madam Toastmaster.
Aditya, you've displayed some really good qualities during this speech, and very often with all your speeches. Credible speaker, you enjoy speaking, and you like telling stories. This is a topic close to your heart. We know that. And it showed with the kind of words you used and how you enjoyed telling your story, because this is one of your favorite stories. I like the opening, like an antelope, like a bird and a fish, and you brought the animal theme into it very quickly, which was good. Some of the best things in the speech was you were entertaining, and I don't know if you're meant to be entertaining, but it's your creative use of visual aids made us think. I don't know how you thought of some of them, but they were so creative and it made it an enjoyable speech. I feel you like telling humorous stories, and every time you speak, I just feel it, that this is what you like. And maybe I think perhaps you should try and get away from it, because with this tale, you wanted us to feel the shock and disgust that you were feeling. And you need to work on that, I feel, because your smile was there and the ghost of the smile kind of remained throughout the speech. And it was a little disconcerting to see that ghost of a smile, and yet you were shocked, which I know you are. The words you used, but the gestures, the facial expression did not match the shock you wanted to feel. That's the impression I got. But the techniques you used were very good. You repeated the titles to remind us what the topic was about, and the message was quite well delivered. Something else that you might think of using, as the last evaluator recommended as well, is using your stage. I've watched the winning speech at the convention 3 times so far, and if you haven't, you learn a lot about how he used his stage. It was amazing, and that's something I think all of us should try, because just the gestures are not enough, but using one corner to the next, and within reason, not just hopping around. He did a fabulous job. It would be a good idea if you worked on that. But you were credible. It was good to listen to you as always, and well done. Good speech. And I hope the timekeeper will tell us it was delivered within the time. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.